So thanks, Stephanie, for coming today.
It's great to be here, Amanda.
That's great. So a little bit about you before we start. This is Stephanie Taylor, and she's a property investor. She's co-founder of the award-winning property management and development company, HMO Heaven. That's an interesting name. You'll have to tell me how you came up with that a little bit later. And then co-founder of Rent to Rent Success, which is obviously what we're going to be talking about today, was inspired by thousands of non-traditional investments to get started in property, along with your sister. Oh, that's cool. And your business partner, Nicky. They grew their rent-to-rent business, secured contracts worth over 2 million in under 3 years, and brought their multi-million-dollar profile of multi-unit block commercial properties and HMOs. Stephanie and Nicky are setting up accommodation and education trust to help people who struggle to find beautiful, affordable homes, like she did as a teenage single mum on benefits. Voted Inspirational Person of the Year in 2021. Stephanie has featured on BBC, Entrepreneur, Business Insider and The Telegraph. She is an author of a #1 best-selling book called Rent to Rent Success, and hosts the top 1.5% Rent to Rent Success podcast. Sorry. After decades of thinking that business and wealth weren't for her, she is now a passionate advocate for ethical property investment, and it is open to everyone, which is cool. It's like my slogan: everyone has a right to own their own home. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm just going to ask you a few questions. I think first I would like to know how the name came about, HMO Heaven.
Yeah. HMOs are houses of multiple occupation. And in our rent to rent business, we focus on houses of multiple occupation, or HMOs. People want student house shares, but you can do them for young as well. And that's what we did. So we just wanted to give a heavenly experience for the housemates who live with us, for landlords we work with. And that's why I came up with HMO Heaven.
I love
Just
it. I
came to
love
me
it.
one day. It's so funny because at the time, a lot of people said, don't do that, don't have that, because HMO has a reputation. But we just wanted to reputation to it and make it HMO Heaven. And now people tell us that they love the name, but at the time, lots of people thought, no, that's not the right.
Well, I'm glad you went with your gut, because I think it's a lovely name.
Yeah.
The reason why I brought you here today is because I've had a lot of my YouTube followers asking about rent to rent. So it's great to have you on. And again, thanks for coming. So the first question that the viewers have asked is, what is rent to rent?
Yeah, absolutely. Rent to rent is phenomenal, really. When I first heard about it, I thought that cannot be true. If this has got to be illegal, this has got to be some sort of scam, because if it is true, why isn't everybody doing it? But what rent to rent is instead of buy to let, where you've got to pay about £50,000, if not more, with your deposit, refurbishment, etc., to buy and own your property, and maybe you're making a profit of £300 a month. With rent to rent, you rent a property and then rent it out again. So it doesn't cost you a lot of money, and you can make anywhere between 500 and well over £1,000 a month. So if I describe it in a nutshell, this is what rent to rent is. You offer a guaranteed rent to the landlord for 3 to 5 years. You rent the property out to housemates for a higher but still affordable rent. And then the money you make in between is your profit. So it's a really phenomenal business model, and it can help people to make money from properties they don't own, but we show them how to do it ethically so that everybody wins.
Sounds great. That sounds great. Yeah, so my next question was, is it legal? But I think you've kind of already answered that in the
Yeah,
first answer.
well,
Yeah.
That is the
That's
question that I thought myself, and everybody always asks me, isn't that subletting? But subletting's illegal. And a lot of people think that because subletting's illegal if you do it without the owner's permission. But this is permissible because sign a contract with the owners of the property to say that we can sublet the properties. So it's a form of subletting and it is legal. It's what's been done for many, many years in the commercial property sector, but it came into the residential sector where you have a lease to sublet the property. And it's actually the property ombudsman, the government's property ombudsman recognizes rent to rent. So if you go on the property redress scheme website, it recognizes rent to rent and has documents about it as a solid business model.
right. And why would a landlord give a property to you?
Yeah. So this next question, people are just thinking, oh, this sounds good. Well, maybe I could start, because you don't actually need experience to start. When we first started, we didn't have experience. And you would think, well, why wouldn't they just go with a normal letting agent? Well, the reason is that many landlords, HMO landlords, that's house share landlords, have properties find consistent management for their HMOs. They're always having problems with this and that. And so they want to use somebody who they can trust. Now, letting agents often have hundreds of properties. Sometimes they have very young staff and there's high staff turnover. So sometimes the staff are not very experienced. Some staff are not good at filling the rooms, etc. And so having you, a single individual or a small company, to manage the properties can really be a bonus for a landlord, because you're going to do it with that different care and attention than a high street letting agent who's got 200 properties.
Obviously, for you, you sign it over for a certain amount of years. With a letting agent, you know, the tenants could move out with, you know, a month's notice, and then you have to start all over again, I guess.
Yeah, that's it, right. It's great. Landlords love it because they get guaranteed rent, they get freedom from tenant management, and they get total peace of mind. So it's really a hands for them. Whereas when they're managed by a letting agent, usually they'll get called for a lot of things. And landlords tell me that they called for things like, oh, the light in the hallway had gone, so they sent an electrician. And when he got there, all that needed to happen was a bulb change. But because he'd gone there, he had to pay £50. That doesn't happen
Yeah.
anymore.
Oh, that's so at the moment in the current climate, obviously everybody's thinking, is it a good time? What would you say to
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal to start right now. I tell you what, Manda, and you probably have the same experience. There's always something. There's never this perfect moment. There was coronavirus. There's always something. Ever since we started, there's always. For all that time, we've been making property from this portfolio, making money from this portfolio of properties we don't own, and that money has to go on to buy our own properties and become developers. At the moment, the thing that everyone's talking about, there's always pros and cons. There's people who make money or make opportunity out of any situation, and there's people who don't, which is most people. But the opportunity here is that there's so much demand for rental property now. So when you get your property, you will be able to fill them. There's just a crazy demand, and that will go up. Fewer people will be buying their own homes, more people will be renting, and more people will be renting HMO rooms as well. So it's a phenomenal time to start in that regard. And also landlords are looking for that solution more now than ever, and letting agents. So more people will be actually reaching out to you to work with you. So now is a brilliant time to start. And this time of year is especially good for people getting started.
Hey, that's interesting. And yeah, I mean, with the current climate, obviously there's been very high utility bills. I mean, how has that affected it?
Yeah, well, the lucky thing about this is that, well, we've got a number of things that we've always had in place to protect the utility bills. One of them is using a thermostat system, a thermostat control system to control the heat in the properties, which you can do online from an app. But housemates can still turn the heating up or on at any time, but after the number of hours it's been pre-programmed, it'll go back to the time settings. Very important, because housemates tend to forget the heating on. If they put the heating on, then they can go out, go on holiday or whatever, and the heating's on full blare and nobody's there. So we personally use Inspire, the thermostat heating. The second thing is, because these are very unusual times, we've updated our contracts to apply a cap, a utility cap. So we know the maximum that we're going to be paying for utility. And I doubt that the price is going to go above it, but just in case they do, we are protected. And because of the higher utility bills, again, landlords and letting agents are more keen to work with you, so it's easier to get your own first property. Now, at the same time as all this has been happening, as I said before, the rental demand's going through the roof and rents have gone up as well. So it's balanced it out. And within the mentorship, we've got people who are taking on new deals all the time. And we actually will go through that with all our mentees, what the deal is, does it work, and just make sure all the numbers stack up. It's very important to ensure that your numbers stack under so you don't make an expensive mistake.
Sounds great. So speaking of mistakes, what are the mistakes to avoid?
Yeah, the biggest mistakes to avoid are not knowing what you're doing. It is a simple concept in some ways, but you do have to know what you're doing. You're getting into a legal arrangement, so it's good to know what the business is before you get started and know the full process. The second thing is they use the wrong contracts. Now, it's very important to have the right contracts that protect you and your business and also protect the people you're working with. So we actually do supply contracts if anyone's interested for our to rent power pack, which is all the key documents that you need. The third mistake is that people don't analyze their deals properly, i.e., they don't know the numbers are going to work. And that's what I just talked about. And we've got our rent to rent success deal analyzer. That's part of the power pack as well. And that helps you to analyze every deal. So I think the biggest mistakes are not knowing what you're doing, not having the right contracts, and not knowing your numbers.
That's great. So you mentioned your power pack. So you actually teach students how to do this?
Yeah, so we've got a mentorship where we work with people for 3 months, because we think it's really important not only to give the information, but actually help people to implement it, actually go step by step with them so that our experience is in their business, because it can be quite scary as a new person starting in business, talking to landlords, talking to agents, and you just want to have some experience behind you. So we work with them in the Rent to Rent Kickstarter mentorship for 3 months, or if people just want key documents, then they can just buy the power pack, which is also on the website.
Great. And could you tell me some of these success stories with some of the students that you've worked with?
Yeah. Well, I love working with our students. They're incredible people, and what I love about it is it really changed our lives, and it's changing lives for people all the time. So we've got Mark Fitzgerald, for example. He got 4 properties in 4 months. Now has gone on again to work full-time in property and gone on to do many other things. And one of the stories that I think most resonates with our listeners on the podcast and people who watch our Rent to Rent Success YouTube channel is Maria, busy mum of 3, IT project manager, and involves her kids in her business. And her first property that she got on a lease option, where it means that you rent the property, but then you own it at the end. She's got the option to buy it at the end, but she doesn't have to find all that money up front.
A great option. Just to sort of wrap up, can you tell us how people could get started with probably little or no money, or little money or no experience?
Well, exactly what like we did. You know, Amanda, with the what you do, often people have got a lot of mental blocks with like getting started buying their own property, and it can be the same getting into rent to rent. So how to get started is make sure you get, you get yourself a good mentor. You find somebody to help you who's been there before, who knows how to do it, who can show you how. And then if people actually, a great way to get started, Amanda, is our free Rent to Rent Success Masterclass. It's a 90-minute film. It shows you exactly deals, some of our properties, some of our students' properties, how it all works. It breaks it all down. And at the end, it tells you more about the mentorship as well. And we've got a special link for your viewers, Mand. And I know that you'll put it below. And that's renttoRentSuccess.com/TMC, which is for the mortgage coach. Another good first step for people, if you don't want to watch the video, if you prefer a book, you can get a free copy of the Rent to Rent Success book, and that's at renttoRentSuccess.com/TMC book. And that stands for the Mortgage Coach book. So I think a great way to start is that masterclass or the book. It's as you said, man, it's the #1 best-selling book on this topic on Amazon. It's got over 200 5-star reviews. It's a great book, and it'll stand you in good stead as you get started.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. I'll definitely put those links in for anyone that is interested, and then also a link of how to get in touch with you as well, so they can get a lot more great advice. I mean, that's been brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, it's definitely worth looking at if you want to start a new business. It's a great sort of side hustle if you want to earn more money and you want to start off small. So no, it's definitely a great idea.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much. It's been lovely speaking to you as always.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for your time.